Hi guys, Dan here, and today we're going to be rehousing my Tliltocatl albopilosum, also known as the curly hair tarantula. I hope you enjoy these clips, and if you do, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I would also like to give a huge shout out to Rehouse from ArachnoTube. He named me as his creator of the month this month, and I am very honoured. You can go and check out his channel, I'll put a link to it in my video. He does some fantastic stuff. He's got some amazing footage of his Goliath bird eater molting. I suggest you go and check that out. And yeah, it's just a great channel. Thank you, Gar, and enjoy the video. The enclosure I'm going to be using for this setup is an 18-litre storage container with holes drilled into the side. What I like about these containers is they are relatively cheap and make great housing for terrestrial tarantulas. The tools I use for rehousing include 2 pairs of tongs and a thin paintbrush, along with 2 catch cups of different sizes. It is really useful to have 2 catch cups, as sometimes the shape of one will not always be ideal for the situation. As you can see, this enclosure offers much more space than the previous one and is perfect for this size tarantula. I believe this enclosure will see this tarantula through to its max size, which I believe is around 4 to 5 inches. Now let's get the tarantula out of its old enclosure. I like to start by removing all of the decorations that may get in the way. This makes it easier to use the catch cups later on. When it comes to taking out the hide that the tarantula is in or using, always use tongs, as this is when the tarantula will be in its fight or flight mode. This particular species of tarantula would much rather run than stand and fight, but you have to be careful as temperaments can vary from specimen to specimen. I have had this tarantula throw up a threat posture before and even slap at tongs or crickets as they have gone past. Using the tongs, I will coax the tarantula up inside the catch cup. You can either do this or just place a piece of card underneath the catch cup and move the spider out. And there we have successfully taken the tarantula out of its enclosure. I used a drill with a 5mm drill bit to make the holes around the edge of this enclosure. I'm going to be starting the base with the old substrate from the old enclosure, as it has not been in there very long and there is no point wasting it. I'm going to top up the rest of this with more substrate, which is a mixture of cocoa fibre and vermiculite with a top layer of sphagnum moss. This is not a moisture dependent species, but I will provide a corner where this tarantula can go if it feels like it needs a more of a humid environment. It's important to pat down your substrate, as spiders do not like to walk on the fluffy substance when you don't pack it down. If you leave the substrate fluffy, what you will find is the spider will tend to climb up the sides of its enclosure. This can be very frustrating to the new keeper and will often leave you wondering why the spider is doing this. This is the hide I'm going to be using. It is just half a cork bark. I like to submerge one end of the cork bark underneath the substrate so the spider doesn't have to block up both entrances to it. This will create a more secure space and will normally attract the spider straight away, allowing it to settle in much faster. Always remember to pack down the substrate around the hide to prevent it from collapsing in or falling over, injuring your tarantula. Even though this is not a moisture dependent species, I'm going to add some sphagnum moss as I just like the look of it and it breaks up the colour of the substrate. When setting up this enclosure, I would like to give the spider plenty of places to hide and give it a couple of different environments. As far as decorations go, you can use pretty much anything. I like to steer away from decorations that have sharp edges or anything that could harm the tarantula. I don't really like this red leaf, so I'm going to get rid of it. This is one of the best parts about the hobby, as you get to create these little miniature worlds for your tarantula to live in. And as you see your tarantula settle in, you will see how the landscape evolves over time. It is always fascinating to see a tarantula moving substrate around its enclosure to create the ideal living space for itself. The instinct that the tarantula shows is just incredible, and it's such an amazing thing to watch. This particular species will be moving this substrate all around the enclosure like a little bulldozer. And as always, you've got to add a water dish. Here is the finished enclosure. I added this fake plant to the right as a sort of a moisture spot inside the enclosure. Underneath this there is a lot of sphagnum moss. I'm very happy with how this enclosure has turned out. It's now time to add the tarantula. Working with a large open top enclosure such as this makes rehousings very easy. I recommend using these if you are new to the hobby and are still pretty nervous about doing your rehousings. I am going to gently caress the spider out of the catch cup. I switch to the bristle end of the paintbrush as the spider reacts more to this and tends to go away from the bristles rather than towards the paintbrush. This is a relatively slow spider, so I'm not too worried about an escape. It is all about keeping a calm, focused situation with everything under control. So you don't want to rush your rehousings. Always take your time and do everything at your own pace. And because it's coming towards the end of the video, this tarantula has decided to start being stubborn. I do eventually manage to get it out of the catch cup with much persuasion from the paintbrush. And there we have another successful rehousing. In my next video I will cover some of the care requirements and facts regarding the curly hair tarantula, so please look out for that video. If you enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and tell all your friends about the channel. I'm thinking about doing a giveaway when I get to 100 subscribers, so if you could please help me get there, that would be awesome. That's all for today. Thank you.